Hello, friends. Age is not a bar to learn something new or to pursue one's hobbies. We often find that a person looks forward to have a relaxed, retired life. But today, we have with us Mr. Ravindra Bhatia, who at the age of 60 started his bird photography, learned computer, and continued his ever time favorite hobby of gardening. So let's spend some time with him. Hello.
Hello.
How did you start your bird photography?
See, I was interested in birds right from my childhood. But once I came to Bombay, it was very difficult to see the birds in Bombay. But when I shifted to my new residence after marriage and after my children also grew up, I that colony was very nice. There were a lot of trees. There was also something like a ring road, and I used to go on those morning walks on that ring road. And there were because there were so many trees on that road. There were so many birds also. I could see the birds, and slowly I became interested in looking at them because sometimes they are singing, sometimes they are quarreling. So naturally, I was attracted to those birds, and I thought that it is better I should have some sort of a record of these birds.
Right.
So, and for that, of course, the digital photography has already started by that time. So, it was necessary to go for a digital camera and get the photographs of these birds.
Okay. So, besides your morning walks, which places did you visit?
See, apart from my morning walks, there were so many parks nearby. There also I could see so many birds. Then in Bhandup, there was that pumping station was there, and there also a lot of birds were there because there was a lot of trees were there, something like a reserve forest. There were no people walking disturbing the birds. Then at Airoli, every year these flamingos were coming. So these were the different places in Bombay I could visit and see the some new birds apart from crow or say maina or
The
sparrow.
common birds.
Yeah, the common household birds.
Right. So, outside Bombay also you must have visited?
Outside Bombay also I visited a lot of places. My first was of course Bharatpur, which is the one of the very well known and say something like for bird photograph, that is a place which must be visited. So that was I visited first. I visited Bharatpur. I saw there so many species which I had not seen in Bombay. There were a lot of migrating birds there. Say there were not flamingos were not there, but these painted storks were there. There were different kinds of ducks. Then there were different types of pigeons. Then so there were also kingfishers, woodpeckers, and so many other birds also there.
Okay. After your Bharatpur visit?
After my Bharatpur visited, I visited a place near Baroda. Say is near Daboi. There's a dam there built by Sayaji Rao Gaikwad, the king of Baroda, and on that dam, so many migrating birds are there. So that was the first place where I got number of species I could get. So many different types of ducks I got there.
Okay.
So many different types of ducks, then different types of egrets, then ibis, even Indian roller also I got there. Then I got some red monias also I got there. Swallows I got there. I think that was the first place where I number of species was really great.
Right.
So very good number of new species I could see there. That was my first introduction to these different species.
Okay.
Then after that, I have visited Indore, I have visited Kolhapur, I have visited Mangla Jodi near Bhubaneswar and Puri. Then I also recently I visited south, say Puri. I also visited say Rangantittu, which is a very nice place.
Where is that?
It's near Mysore.
Okay.
On the way to Mysore, then I also visited this Ooty, Ooty, Kunur. There I got some good forest birds.
Okay.
Then lastly, I have also visited Dandeli in Karnataka. Apart from that, I have also visited different types of parks. So many parks, national parks in Ontario, Canada.
Okay.
I had visited my daughter there, who is also interested in birds. So she had taken me to all these different parks, and there I got so many North American birds I could see, and I could also photograph. So this is what my different visits for these birds.
Okay, so whenever you visit any place for bird photography, do you carry any first-hand information with you, which makes it easy for you to do the photography?
Yeah, before I visit, I always I have to get some homework I have to do.
Exactly.
I always get the information as to what I am expected to see there, and I also collect the information of the birds, that particular type of birds, from the books I get. So that it becomes easy to take the photographs.
Right.
Yeah.
And what are the usual equipments which you need to do your photography?
Normally I require a good camera, a good tele lens, and stand also, a good tripod also.
Okay. Which camera you are using right now?
I have got my latest and the best camera, that is Nikon 850.
Okay.
At the moment, amongst cameras, that is one of the best cameras.
Okay. Now, throughout this journey, time and patience are the most important things I think you have to keep in mind. So,
Correct.
how do you manage all this? Time plus patience.
No, patience, of course. It is without patience, you can't get the birds photograph.
Exactly.
Sometimes you have to wait for hours, sometimes days, sometimes months, and some birds, for example, oriental dwarf kingfisher, I have been waiting for years.
Oh my
I
God.
have not been able to get it yet. So patience is required, and you have to go that at particular place where they are available. You have to visit, For different kingfishers, for example, I wanted to photograph, and I have not been yet able to get those photographs because I have not visited Goa or I have not visited Kerala yet.
Okay.
So that you have to wait.
Okay. So one thing that comes to everyone's mind is, how do we identify a bird? We come across a bird, we appreciate it, but we never think what is that bird's name. We like its colors, we like the way it flies, we like the way the bird sings, but we fail to identify the bird. How do you do this?
See, for identification, there are so many apps are there. There are so many bird societies. They have got their apps. They tell you how to identify. They give the tips. The colors are there. For example, some birds have got particular color on their head. Some may have on their wings. Some may have at the base. So all these tips are there.
Do you have any favorites?
What favorite?
Birds.
No.
All are your
It
favorites.
is very difficult to have any face. It's very difficult to say this bird is favorite or that bird is favorite. All birds are my favorite.
Favorites.
Yeah.
Right. So next thing is, what are the things necessary, or what must a person keep in mind to get a good photograph of any bird?
See, getting a good photograph depends on so many things. For example, you must be able to, you must be present there when that particular bird is there.
Right.
So that moment, to catch the moment, first thing is your presence.
Yeah.
The next is the equipment. You must have the proper equipment. That equipment should be capable of picking up that moment.
Okay.
For example, if it is not fast focusing, the bird may change the position.
Okay. You have to be alert.
Not only you have to be alert, but your camera should be that fast. You should be able to focus it properly.
Okay.
And you should be able to use it properly. So it has to be very fast. It should be very quick. It should have the burst. For example, my camera gives 9 pictures in a second.
Okay.
So I can have even the particular pose. I can have the so many different stages of that particular pose,
Okay.
and I can choose the best of that.
Correct.
This is particularly this is a required say property of a camera. When you are taking the photograph, then when they are in flight, or when they are feeding. For example, the bird, the kingfisher is say catching the fish. So you must have a photograph when it is exactly coming out of water
Yes.
with the fish.
Yes. Very difficult.
That's a difficult thing. So if you have got a nice camera, you with a good burst, you can have say 10-12 photographs. One of them will be with the fish
Correct.
in his beak,
Yeah.
and also in focus with the proper details.
Exactly. And I think it's an attractive sight to
No,
capture also when they are building their nests also.
Yeah,
That is also a very
no, that
attractive
is
sight.
quite a different thing. Building, and you see, we have got a very particular rule about this bird photography. Never to approach the nest.
Okay.
Yes, there is definitely a distance which we have to maintain.
Maintain.
Don't disturb
Okay.
the nesting birds.
Okay.
That is say a moral requirement of the bird photographer.
Yes. That's necessary.
Yeah, that is a necessary. Otherwise, the birds, once they are disturbed, they don't come, and those eggs will not hatch.
They
Or
may feel
if
they are not
they,
safe. They feel they are not safe.
no, they will just abandon the either chicks or.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
so it is better not to approach the nest and keep a safe distance.
Exactly. So, approximately, what would you say? What is your collection of birds photographs?
See, I don't have the separate bird photographs as such, but 99% of my photographs are of nature. So either birds or flowers or trees or say insects. I got a lot of different insects also. Butterflies are there, insects
Okay.
are there.
Okay.
So these photographs, as on today, they are something like 65 or 65,000.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
that's a big number indeed.
Yeah, it
It's
is
a very big number.
It is a big number, but all of them are not good.
Okay, but that has
but-
taken your time, your
but,
patience, and
correct.
that's how you got
Correct,
all this.
correct, correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
But I have been able to have really a nice collection of say I have seen and photographed over 250 species.
Okay.
So that is a good number of species, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah.
And okay, once you come home with all these photographs, आप क्या करते हो वो photographs से?
वो ये जो फोटोग्राफ्स होते हैं ये नॉर्मली मैं रॉ फॉर्मेट में लेता हूँ,
Okay.
क्योंकि जेपेक का जो फोटोग्राफ आप लेते हैं वो एडिट करते वक्त उसमें लिमिटेशंस होते हैं. For example, you cannot say give more exposure, or you cannot focus it properly. You cannot have details. If it is JPEG, there are always limitations. But if it is in raw format, there are absolutely no limits.
Okay.
Without so you can give whatever exposure you want. You can adjust the exposure. You can see the details. You can correct the shadows. For that means you can, if something is under shadow and you are not able to see it properly in the photograph, you can increase the exposure of only that shadowed place, and you can get all those details in the picture.
Okay.
So all this is possible only in raw format.
Okay. So,
So-
in short, you had to get acquainted with the computer.
Yeah. Not only computer, but
Some special software
but
also.
these special
Softwares.
software. I have got Lightroom of Adobe, which is one of the best editing software for these photographs. I think most of the people, good photographers, are using the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you take any formal training for bird photography or for the software you are using?
I have not taken any.
You have not.
No.
You tried to explore yourself.
This most of whatever I learned is by trial and error only.
Okay.
And as far as the software, Lightroom is concerned, my nephew is expert in that.
Okay.
So whenever I got doubts or something I want to learn,
You get a helping hand from
whenever,
him.
particularly when it is the updates are there,
Yeah.
he tells me
Uh-huh.
how to get these updates, or how I can use these updates for getting better pictures.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, friends, isn't it amazing? At the age of 60, to move from one place to another, to have time, to have patience for the photography of birds, and not only that, to learn computer, get acquainted with the softwares, required softwares, and that too at the age of 60. Today he is 85 plus, but his journey of bird photography has not stopped. great pleasure to see some of your selected bird photographs. बर्ड फोटोग्राफी के अलावा आपको शौक गार्डनिंग का भी है, तो इसकी शुरुआत कैसे हुई?
मुझे बचपन से ही पेड़ पौधे फूल इनका बहुत शौक था, और इतना ही नहीं तो घर में लगाने का भी उसका शौक था। बहुत से इधर से उधर से मैं पौधे लेके आता था और लगाता था। इतना ही नहीं तो मुझे लगता है मैं स्कूल में कुछ चौथी या पाँचवीं में हूँ, तो तभी मैंने पूना से कुछ स्पेशल जीनिया के और इसके बीज भी मंगाए थे। तो वो तो तभी से मेरा चालू था, लेकिन वो रेगुलर ऐसा गार्डनिंग जैसा नहीं था। लेकिन मुझे गुलाब का बहुत तब से ही शौक था।
ओके।
हाँ, वो गुलाब के पौधे मालूम नहीं है, वो रेयरिटी थी, वो बहुत कम पौधे दिखते थे, इसके लिए मुझे उसका अट्रैक्शन ज़्यादा था। तो वो मैंने गुलाब का जब मैं बड़ा हुआ और कॉलेज में जाना लगा, तो मैंने जो ओल्ड बुक्स खरीदना चालू किया। उसमें मुझे एक ओल्ड बुक में जो मिला वो 100 साल पहले का गुलाब का एक किताब मिली मुझे, जिसमें गुलाब की केयर कैसी लेनी चाहिए, क्या करनी चाहिए, बहुत अच्छी तरह से लिखा था। एक फादर ने लिखा था, वो किताब उसने लिखी थी। तो वो देख के मुझे लगा कि ये तो बहुत अच्छी इन्फॉर्मेशन है। और इतना ही नहीं तो उसके बाद मुझे दूसरी भी बहुत किताबें दिखने लगी, जो चर्च गेट और वहाँ पर जो फुटपाथ पर जो जूनी किताबें बेचने वाले रहते हैं, तो वहाँ से फिर मैंने ख़रीदना चालू किया। और मेरा वो गुलाब के बारे में बहुत अच्छा कलेक्शन हो गया।
ओके।
और उसमें खासकर तो जूने गुलाब थे, जो अभी के जो गुलाब है, जो अभी एस्ट्री या फ्लोरिबंडा जो दिखाई देते हैं वो नहीं, लेकिन जूने गुलाब जो होते थे पहले, जो बेलें होती थी गुलाब की हिमालय में या से सेंट्रल एशिया में या अरेबिया में, तो उनके बारे में बहुत मुझे दिखाई दिया, लिखा हुआ मिला। और उसका हाइब्रिडाइजेशन, नेचुरल हाइब्रिडाइजेशन कैसा हुआ, और धीरे धीरे ये गुलाब की नई फसलें कैसी तैयार हुई, वो भी उससे मुझे मालूम पड़ा।
ओके।
और ये इस वजह से गुलाब में मुझे बहुत इंटरेस्ट हो गया। और फिर देखते देखते मुझे मालूम पड़ा कि लखनऊ में एक नर्सरी है, वहाँ से वो लोग भेजते हैं, पौधे बेचते हैं, ये रूटेड पौधे बेचते हैं, तो वहाँ से मैंने मंगाए थे। और बाद में तो मुझे फिर यहाँ भी मिलने लगे, क्योंकि धीरे धीरे पौधे वो पॉपुलर होने लगे बम्बई में भी। तो बम्बई में भी आर्य कॉलोनी से इधर से उधर से मुझे बहुत पौधे मिले। तो वो मेरा कलेक्शन कुछ करीब 150-200 पौधे मैंने जमा किए थे। खासकर तो उसमें हिस्ट्री बहुत थी, गुलाब की हिस्ट्री जो है, वो उसके जो पौधे हैं वो जमा करने का मुझे शौक था। वो उसके अलावा फिर फ्लोरिबंडा और एचटी, ये वैरायटीज़ भी बहुत फिर आ गई मेरे पास, और अच्छा कलेक्शन था। इतना ही नहीं तो मेरा घर भी उस वक्त कॉलोनी में गुलाब का घर या लैंडमार्क वो था।
ओके ओके ओके। So books were a rich source of information for you. And besides that, I think you must be, being in Bombay, you must have visited a lot of flower shows and exhibitions also, isn't it?
Correct. Every year there used to be a flower show of municipality. So there also I could see the lots of roses.
Okay.
Because there the roses used to come from all places, not only Bombay, but even outside they used to come. Bombay is not, for that matter, you see, Bombay is not the right place for roses. The climate is not the correct climate for roses. So you don't get really good quality roses in Bombay.
Okay. So was your collection limited to roses or you added something else to your collection?
No, you see, roses, because I was not very happy with the quality or the returns I was getting for my efforts. I was not very happy as far as the roses were concerned. Moreover, roses required a continuous spray of pesticides and even say fertilizers. I am very much against pesticides. So slowly and slowly I reduced the number of roses. I went for hibiscus
Okay.
varieties.
How many varieties of
The
hibiscus you have?
hibiscus also I had got something like 30-40 varieties.
Oh my God, that's
Yeah.
great. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Usually hibiscus we
They
usually
know-
see only red, the most common ones. But you had different colors.
single petal red color is a normal color which people use or to have
Yeah.
for because the Ganesha is very fond of these flowers. So many people had that variety.
Right. But,
But,
you had something else
But
also.
now there are so many varieties, so many types, forms are different, colors are different. So I had something like 30-40 varieties,
Okay.
including the blue one.
You had a blue hibiscus also?
Well, yes, I
Oh,
had.
we have never seen a blue hibiscus.
I had a blue also.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So that must be really looking
Yeah,
beautiful,
yeah,
no doubt
yeah.
about it.
It was beautiful, no doubt.
Uh-huh. So you mean to say adding hibiscus to your collection took less of your
There
time
was
than
no
your
question-
roses?
no
Than
question.
your roses?
No question of adding to collection. You see, at that time I used to have only one species.
Okay.
First I had roses.
Okay.
Then after stopping roses, I went for hibiscus.
Uh-huh.
So I had only hibiscus.
Okay.
Then I decided to go for the say flowers which had very good smell,
That
like
is?
jasmine, then chameli,
Okay.
jui,
Uh-huh.
then mogra.
Okay.
So I went for these types of flowers, including champa. Though champa also I had got very different types of champas. Say I had even county champa I had got, which is a very rare
Rare.
thing, but which is a very good smell, very sweet smell.
Okay. Okay. But now what is your present collection?
My present collection is adenium because slowly and slowly with my age I had limitations of handling the big pots. I could not handle those very big pots, getting say manures
Soil.
and soil and all those things, plus big pots
Okay.
which I could not handle.
Okay.
So I wanted something which is of
Easy to manage.
so small things, say bonsai type something, and there I saw that this adeniums is a good alternative,
Okay.
because if I go for only bonsais, I have to wait for 30-40 years.
Okay.
Whereas if I go for adeniums, I can get the bonsai within 2-3 years.
Okay.
Not only that, but the bonsai, the tree trunk, which is known as codex.
What is codex?
Codex is the trunk of this, where the water is stored
Okay.
for the plant. Because these adeniums are the desert roses, they are desert plants.
Okay.
So they store water in their trunk.
Okay.
So that becomes fat.
Okay.
So that shape, yeah, sometimes it is very beautiful. And apart from flowers, the beauty of adenium lies in the cortex itself.
Okay.
So I went for adeniums.
Okay. So, do you mean to say it requires less water?
It requires, of course, in summer it requires much water, but slowly, as the climate changes, in winter it doesn't require any water. And otherwise also, if you give more water,
It may die.
it is sure to die. It will rot. The fungus will start, and the whole thing will just melt.
Okay.
Yeah, so you have to save it from water, more water.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what do you need to plant an adenium plant?
You see, for adenium, soil is the most important medium.
Okay.
Whatever, how you are going to plant it, in what you are going to plant it. The pot size is important.
Okay. What kind of a pot it needs?
Better to have
Shallow one?
Shallow one, yes. Better to have earthen pots, because you will get a good aeration there.
Okay.
But then earthen pots, again the problem is weight and the breaking also. The possibilities of breaking are many. So you can go for
Plastic one?
Plastic ones.
Okay.
It has to be a shallow
Okay.
and flat one.
Okay. And what else you need?
Then you have to see the size of the plant. What is the size of the cortex? Accordingly, you should go on increasing the pot size.
Okay.
When your plant is very small, you have to have very small pot.
Okay.
The pot has to be small,
Okay.
because what is required is, whenever you are watering it, it should be watered completely, but there should not remain any water in the pot. It should go completely, get out of it.
Okay.
It should drain out.
Okay.
Not only that, but after say 1 or 2 days, it should also become dry.
Okay.
So that drying is also very necessary. So if you take a small plant and a big pot, the soil will not dry,
Okay.
because there is more soil, there will be more water, you will be also watering it more. So it's likely that your plant may not survive, it will die.
I see.
So you have to go on increasing the size only when the cortex becomes more bigger.
Okay. Can you tell us something about what kind of a soil and in what proportion or what else is required?
The first thing is the drainage is most important here. So you have to have sand. 50% is sand. You can have any sand. Whatever is used for construction, you can take that.
Okay.
But any river sand, you cannot have sea sand. River sand you have to take.
Okay.
Very fine sand you can take for this 50% when we are talking of. That sand has to be very thin. Then you have to add 25% normal garden soil.
Okay.
But that also you should not say heavy soil, not heavy black soil. You take either yellow or red soil. And 50% you can take cow dung manure or compost.
Okay.
Yeah.
Coco peat is not used for this?
Coco peat normally you should not, because if you don't maintain the coco peat, the problem with coco peat is it retains water.
Okay.
It doesn't dry. It drains water properly, no problem.
Yeah, but it retains.
But it retains. So that retention means it is never going to be dry.
Okay.
So that creates problem. So you see, unless you know what is the proportion required, you should not use. In the beginning, you should not use coco peat at all.
Okay.
Afterwards, you can start using it.
Okay.
Particularly, you see, when you are seedlings, etc., you are going to have, at that time, coco peat is okay. But once your plant becomes bigger, the codex becomes bigger, say after about a year or so, soil is a must. If you don't have soil there, garden soil, your adenium will not grow properly.
I see.
Yeah. And in the beginning, you should not use coco peat because you don't know what that proportion, you don't have the experience. So, best thing is don't use coco peat.
I see.
Yeah.
And once the plant becomes slightly bigger, then do you need to change the pot?
Yeah, you go on changing.
You go on changing?
You see,
You go for a bigger size?
Yeah, you have to. Not only that, but otherwise also, every 2 years you should change the pot.
What?
You must take out the that codex and the roots out. Wash it properly. See there is no root rot. If everything is okay, then you can plant. If the pot is not required, bigger pot is not, you can put it in the same pot also.
Okay.
Yeah, but after checking, for that you have to take it out, wash it properly, then apply fungicide,
Okay.
and then only plant it again.
Okay. Do you multiply your adenium plants?
Yeah, multiplication is either by cuttings or by grafting.
Okay.
So I do that. Grafting also I do. Flat grafting I do. V grafting also I do.
Okay. And what
Yeah.
is the blooming season of these plants?
You see, this is in Bombay. This is more or less a continuously blooming plant. It blooms all the year round.
Okay. And how many varieties
but,
you have?
But it goes into dormancy when the temperature drops.
Okay.
Yeah, when it drops below 30 degrees, say when it is say 20 degrees or so, and otherwise also the plant requires rest.
So somewhere in winter.
So in winter, all the leaves will be dropped, and you will see only the branches without any. The plant will look absolutely. It's very. You will feel sorry for the plant.
Yeah.
But don't worry about it. It is not going
will
to
revive.
It is not going to die. Let it remain that.
How many varieties you have?
I have got something like 25 varieties.
So I think let's take a glance and see some of these adenium flowers. You will enjoy, friends. This video is specially made on his 86th birthday, looking at his passion for photography and love for nature. I wish you a very happy birthday and many more to come. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.